Okay, well, good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are joining us from. I'm Suzanne Henn. I'm a manager at the CLA staff. With the CLA staff, I oversee membership and member engagement. And I wanted to welcome everyone to our monthly meetup for the Women's Laundry Network. Today's event is titled From Lease to Labor, Mastering Sales Negotiations in the Laundry Business. So as we said, put your name in the chat so we know who's on the call, and then we'll use that later for questions. Please note that we are recording today's meeting, and I will send a link to everyone that's attended today following the call. Lisa Mahan, who is on the call with us in the top left to me, will be our moderator slash host. She's on the task force of the Women's Laundry Network. Also, we have Raina Bass, who is joining us today on the call, and several other task force members. So thank you for joining us and welcome. Our two panelists today speaking on the topic, the Gurus seasoned industry experts, are Kelly Beeson from Temple, Texas, and Natalie Mattis from Boca Raton, Florida. And I will now turn this over to Lisa. At the end, I will pop back on and just give a few CLA updates, but please enjoy the call and feel free to ask questions.
Thank you, Suzanne. Thanks for everybody for coming, and we're excited to have you all here today. So I'd like to kind of just start off with, Suzanne did a kind of a introduction of who we are, but maybe if both Kelly and Natalie can give a brief background and history of what they've been doing here with the laundry industry. Kelly, you want to give it a start?
Sure. I'm Kelly Wells Beeson. I own Wells Laundry in Central Texas. I'm between Waco and Austin. We have 8 stores between our area, and we just closed on property for our 9th location coming soon. We are only the self-service. We have been open 48 years, and I took over the business fully from my dad a year ago. I took over 3 stores 9 years ago, and then fully took over all 8 of our stores last July. But I've done everything in the business from mopping and sweeping the floor to fully running it.
It's great. Natalie, how about you?
My name's Natalie Mattis. I am from Boca Raton, Florida. Our one and only laundromat is in West Palm Beach. We've had the laundromat for 12 years. My mom, in retirement, decided to buy a laundromat because her best friend also had one. So they were like running them together. In the last 4 years, I kind of took over when she really wanted to retire, but doesn't really want to retire. I decided I would come in and do pickup and delivery and commercial business, which has been such a huge piece of the laundromat. We've kind of taken over. But at the same time, we do self-service, we do wash and fold, and like I said, we now do pickup and delivery, residential, commercial. And we, every day is a new day. So it's a real exciting, time for us. And that's pretty much what's going on.
Awesome. Thank you. We really appreciate both of you being here. So we're going to get down to a bit of a nitty gritty of what we're here to talk about. So both of you have leases for your laundromats. But I wanted to kind of start off with kind of Kelly's situation that I think a lot of laundromat owners can relate to, where she actually leases her buildings from her father. And so a lot of people have that succession planning going on. So Kelly, can you kind of elaborate a little bit on how that happened, how that works out, and how you make that, still friendly with Dad?
Yes. I am very blessed to be an only child. So my dad obviously has run them since the 1970s. And kind of the succession goes even further back. My great-grandfather started our first laundromat many, many years ago, and it failed. And then my dad, after high school, with his father, started the stores that we have now. And then I came into the business. But we do have leases with my father. When we took over, my dad said, I will help you learn the business. However, you are going to pay me rent. So that was kind of how our lease agreements got started with him. And all of my buildings are standalone buildings except one store, and there is one part of it's a laundromat, the other part of it is a gas station convenience store. So they pay my dad rent for that section of it. But negotiating with my dad was interesting. We made sure that we followed Texas code, we followed lease agreements, we have full lease agreements. We had to talk about who was going to pay property taxes, who was going to be responsible for different things from the air units to the painting of the buildings to inside outside, what we were responsible for, what he would be responsible for. But we wanted to ensure that he could still stay a part of the business. And then we also have one property that we lease from a whole separate business. And we took over that lease with them. At the point we took over it, my dad was still in a lease agreement with them. So we had to transfer that over into our business entity. But that's been interesting because it also was a succession plan. The dad owned that store, then the dad passed away and the son took over the lease. So we've had to negotiate the terms and all of that. But we are in 10-year leases with my dad. So 9 more years to go. But we wanted to ensure, it was very important to us that we have first right of refusal on both of those leases. So if anything happens for any reason that the other person wants to sell the property or anything, that we have first right of refusal. My mom is still alive, so it would go to her and then it goes to me. But having the first right of refusal was very important to us on the properties. But there's going to be arguments in a succession plan, but my dad has very much mentored us, and I'm very, very grateful for that he's been able to do that. And we have a plan that he helps us every single day. So don't be afraid to ask for help. If you are in a succession plan taking over, they want to help you. They want to see you succeed. But it's interesting. They've done things their way for a very, very long time, but it doesn't mean it's the right way. You can change things.
Very good point. On a different kind of note, with Natalie, I know you have a lease there as well. Do you find that, I know your mom probably established the lease, you're taking it over. Do you find that there are specific things, you're dealing not specifically with the leaseor that is related to you, that there are certain things there that you would make sure that you have?
We're not standalone. We're in a shopping center, a retail shopping center with 2 large anchor stores in the shopping center, and the management company is pretty rigid. And the things that we didn't think about 12 years ago, we're thinking about now, as we're not coming up just yet on our lease renewal, but things that inside we have hurricanes down here, and the glass and the air conditioning and the exterior and interior pieces of those things that we didn't think about before, we now are thinking about for our renewal. So those are things that are really important that you have in your lease when you are going into a partnership with a property management company. Or it's difficult because we don't own the building. So when the AC isn't working and the glass, because the hurricane, it was our responsibility, which I would wish that she would have thought of that ahead of time in order to go into that, executing the lease with those terms. We putting thousands and thousands of dollars into a new AC unit, which, I mean, it's not ours. It's like we're not taking it with us if we decide to either open somewhere else, or if we're not going to continue the lease. So those are things that you probably should think about when you're talking to when you're leasing a space in somebody else's existing building.
For sure. And the term, like Kelly's talking about a 10-year term that she's gotten with her father, which I think it's a little bit on the shorter side, but when it's family, it could be different. But do you find that you would probably do another 15 years, or would you negotiate that differently?
I would, and I would renew. We're in the right area. We didn't make any mistakes of where we should be. Like, picking a location is another whole piece. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. But we picked the
Not
right
this webinar.
location. No,
Yeah,
that's not this webinar. But I'm saying, like, we picked the right location. So we definitely would renew. And it's funny with Kelly, her family connection too. It's my mom, and then my mom's doesn't is retired, and then my son would be somebody who would definitely work with us as well. So we're not going anywhere. So I think it's great because then if we can renegotiate, it would make sense for us.
certainly. And do you think that there are certain things that you have as leverage as a good tenant
We're a
for
very good tenant.
negotiation? Yeah.
We're a very good tenant. My mom is very, she was very regimented, like, getting the loan and then making the loan payments, making and because she built up business as the years have gone on, she has loyal customers, and people come in here. It's a community. It's not just a place to, go wash your clothes and leave. Everyone knows everybody. And it's nice because that family thing is still there, but everyone feels it. It's like the next 15 years will just be the same, which is great.
Yeah. And the landlord sees that and
I
wants a
think
steady tenant.
I know she does. I
Yeah.
know she does. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a lot of what goes into being able to keep a good lease or keep the upper hand, if you will, and negotiations is, being able to both offer something. So we're going to move a little bit on from the lease factor to equipment and vendors and kind of negotiating that avenue of things. So let's go back to Kelly. I know, Kelly, you've had built a lot of relationships over the time with your dad and different vendors and equipment distributors in the area. What is your approach to, either getting better terms, better pricing? What do you look for in your vendor partners?
Yes. So we try to be very open with our vendors. I think it's important to look at multiple brands, not to be specific to anybody. The industry has changed just drastically in the 10 years I've been in it. Kind of back, I say. We first put in a credit card system in 2003. It didn't work. Now we have credit card systems in every store that we have. But not being brand specific, being able to work with multiple vendors. I personally like, in a vendor standpoint, having a family structure, knowing that that vendor there's a succession plan with them. If something happens, someone's going to be there to take that over. My dad obviously built a lot of the vendor relationships and distributor relationships that we have, and then we've continued, but we have made changes, and we're not afraid to make changes. I think it's important to have very open communication with your distributors. When we are going to buy washers or dryers, we try to really buy like a whole trailer load. I'm not just buying one row. I'm going to buy something for a whole store. We're in the process of retooling a store we actually bought 9 years ago. It's getting all brand new washers right now. We didn't choose to stick with the brand we previously had. We went with something different. Keeping just very open communication. A lot of vendors know that when we go to Clean Show, we're looking at every brand. When we go to Wash Dry Fold, when we go to Excellence in Laundry, that we are looking at all the brands. We are looking to see, when can the product be available, even though it's being shown to you, when is it actually going to be pushed out to you? I think that's important to negotiate. I have been told something can be ready in 2 months and I see it a year later, or I haven't seen it yet. So just being very specific and knowing that yes, your distributor is going to work you to get the best deal. This time when we actually bought the new equipment for the store that we are retooling, we put in a credit card system at the same time, and our distributor was able to negotiate those terms together for us. And we chose to just use that specific person this time. It may not be the right choice later, but for right now in our business, it is. There's a lot of changes in credit card systems. There's a lot of to look at that as a self-service. I'm looking at different things than like Natalie would be looking at for wash, dry, fold. We don't have a loyalty card system, but I know a lot of people like that loyalty card basis of being able to do like Wednesdays, women get a discount or whatever you want it to look like in your business. We're in a military town. Being able to maybe push that out. It's just not specific to us. And we are completely coin and credit card. I am not coinless anywhere. So knowing what's going to work for you, if you're looking for, say, specific credit cards, but I have equipment in my stores that's 25 plus years old. If you take care of your equipment, it lasts you, but making sure when you are buying new equipment, what do the warranties look like? How long is that equipment going to last? What model numbers are you getting? Are you going to be able to get parts from the manufacturer, or are you going to have to use a third party? I think is important to know too.
Yeah, lots of really good points. And I think just over time, your connections with different vendors and manufacturers can change. So that's, a lot, I think, what Kelly was talking about there. Natalie, I kind of like to get your perspective in a different way in dealing with your vendors. You're dealing more with commercial accounts even, and I think that relationship is interesting to see how you bring on commercial accounts and how you negotiate the terms that they're going to have. What is their price per load? Is that different for each different location? Do you offer different options for different vendors?
So my commercial accounts are everything under the sun. I mean, we don't have like a niche where we just do gyms or we just do nail salons or barbershops or whatever. I guess I should start by saying I was working with a sales company that has experience with laundry, operators and owners, where they were helping us get leads. And that was definitely the first way I started out trying to find business, because I'm not a salesperson at all. It's not my forte, but I knew I needed help. So it's funny, I was just approached at the right time, and it was something that was great for me because we were just starting out. So finding commercial business isn't easy in the beginning, but if you keep at it, you talk to everyone that in terms of people that that are business owners. You talk to so many different kinds of people in the community, telling them what they do. The calls start to come, in. Your website presence and your Google ads and all those things that were helping us. With people that were searching for laundry service, West Palm Beach or Boynton Beach or Lake Worth or whatever, all in this little area. And finding those, fielding those phone calls, it really just depends. I mean, we're negotiating constantly with different kinds of companies. It depends if you want service every day. Do you want it twice a week? Do you want it every other week? There's so many different ways that there are negotiating ways that I personally operate, because if I have enough business, I'll give them a lower rate. But if they're only doing it once or twice a month, then they're going to get the higher rate. It's just, there's so many factors to it. But for me, it's finding the business, and then you get all the business, and then when it rains, it pours, and then you're just trying to figure out. And then we were talking about labor, and being able to do the work that you're getting is another piece to this. But yeah, a lot of it is finding the business, talking to people. It's a numbers game. Someone's going to get the information and they're going to be like, no, sorry, it's too much money. Or somebody's like, I'm desperate need, and they'll pay whatever. You always are trying to decide how much you're going to charge them based on, how much they need you. But yeah.
I think a lot of when you and I had talked before, they come back and it kind of leads us into the next category that I've got is labor, and you maintaining and getting good people to work for you and provide something, and then not only just your labor, but your connections that you have in the community, and making that, part of what your laundromat is, and just hoping you could elaborate on those points. Your community. And
I'm very blessed. I mean, like I said, we only have one laundromat, but I have a very, like an amazing team in place. And finding good, good people is not easy. People just kind of fell into me. They didn't work out. Then we put up a sign, and then the community in this area, like there's a lot of families here that need the work, and some came in, some were great, and some weren't. But then all of a sudden, the skies opened up and the sun came out, and I have a spectacular team. And I don't just say that lightly. They work their butts off. And they are just happy to have jobs. I mean, the job market here is crazy. I mean, I don't know what it's like other places, but I'm in South Florida, and it's very hard. People need to work. They need to pay for their, but these people take it really seriously because it's their livelihood. And it's just like, it's my livelihood to have good staff. People are happy. Our customers are happy, and we're happy we have good staff. And it's not that easy, but at the same time, the clear communication we have as a team really sets the tone for the hard work that we do. And I just had to get out of the screen just for a second, because one of my drivers is driving down to Fort Lauderdale because he needed something. And text sometimes is great, but you need to sometimes be face to face or on the phone to be communicative. But that's how we operate, and it's a great way to set the tone for your, if you guys are looking to open up a laundromat, or you have one and you want to add wash, dry, fold, you need good staff. You just really need good staff and clear communication.
Excellent. I know, Kelly, on your side of things, you don't do wash, dry, fold, but you certainly have attendants that are there in the laundromat. Can you elaborate a little bit on how you retain your attendants and what your kind of qualifications are for having them there?
Yes. I think before you ever decide to open, if you are in the process of looking to purchase, it was very important to us to have policies and procedures in place. My husband runs the business with me, and he comes from a business standpoint. He has a business degree. I have an education degree. So pros and cons coming from both sides of that. But making sure you have policies and procedures in place. We really try to pay above market value to our employees to try to keep them with us. We try to have incentives in place. Everyone's driven off of incentives. But I think having policies and procedures, having a handbook in place that outlines things, having very clear set cleaning schedules. I work very well off of a checklist. I'm a notes person. I have to write everything down. My employees have little check boxes of, I cleaned the bathroom today. Whatever the schedule by day of what they need to do, so that the expectations are very clear to them. So there's not ever a question of, well, why are you upset with me that I didn't do this? Well, it was on the list for Monday. It didn't get done. Also knowing what can happen during downtime. Weather could affect you. Like Natalie's in Florida, a hurricane can happen. I just probably 30 minutes before this call got out of 4C water conservation. I have been closed at 2 of my stores since Monday. I now can open from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. And my employees are going, when can we open? When are we going to get paid? It's in my handbook what happens in the event of this happening. So setting very clear expectations. I was able to say to them, you can go to your handbook and look at what's going to happen. You have to decide what works best for you in that situation. I personally am going to pay my employees for the time off. That's what my husband and I have chosen to do. It's really out of their control that I had to close. The city's not going to compensate me for being closed by any means. But they've been very accommodating and helping. And we are now actually thankfully able to reopen. But setting very clear expectations, I think, is important from the get-go. It's hard to retain employees. Sometimes they're your biggest headache and you want to pull your hair out and go, okay, well, I wouldn't do it that way, but I try to understand their point of view of why they did it that way. I always say there's no dumb questions. Don't be afraid to call me and say, well, hey, this customer's doing this or that. Like, let me handle it if you don't feel comfortable handling it. I would much rather they get an answer from me as the business owner than sometimes an answer from my employee of how things are done. We also have a lot of rotating signage in our stores that go over policies and procedures for our customers so that they know. Example, my credit card system, you can't split a payment. So that when my employee says to someone, no, I'm not giving you a refund because you used coin and credit card, well, it's up on signage. So having clear among your customers, your employees, and the owner, like having that plan in place, I think is important. And just value your employees. If you take care of them, they take care of your business. And I can't be in all 8 stores at one time. So I rely on them. I say, we try to keep very, very clean stores, but it starts with my employee. My employee has to be cleaning the store.
Yeah, I think that's
when I walk
the
in my
best
building.
point.
I look at my bathrooms. I see different things than sometimes they see, but it starts with the employee. And if you honor them, a thank you note goes a really long way. We started writing thank you notes when I took over the business. Some of my employees had never formally been thanked in a note. A plant, remembering their birthday, little things go a really long way.
That's great. I think that's perfect, Kelly. I just wanted to kind of flip back a little bit to Natalie about the same kind of points. If you can touch on a little bit of what, maybe not monetary things that you do to help keep your employees around. You talked a lot about the community, they're standing behind their product, but, and the communication, are there any specific things that you do that kind of keep your employees more motivated to get things done? It's a deep thought.
It's interesting. You mentioned like monetary thing, not monetary, but I'm always like, Kelly was talking about, incentivizing them, and just being there with them doing the work. I mean, listen, I'm very, very hands-on. And I'm hands-on because I started this piece of our laundry. When my mom was in the business, she wasn't here, I don't say ever, but she has a manager, and the manager is her eyes and ears. But having someone take ownership of of the laundry is huge because they feel connected to it. And I think the motivation that I give them is that they see me doing it also. They see me, running around. I'm kind of the eyes and ears on the outside, and they're my eyes and ears on the inside. And they want you to know what's going on, and they want to talk to you, and they want to communicate with you. And knowing what's going on is half of it. And they know something gets solved because we do it, because they ask for it. They know what needs to happen here when we're not here. And then when we're here, they see us solve it. There's something to that. There's something about all of us working together as a team. And that, to me, is the way that they feel connected and not disconnected by being like, you can work anywhere and clock in and clock out. But if you actually care about the place and you want it to be very well run, and, we don't love when machines go down, but we know our vendor who we need to call and do it. So it's like, hey, text Jerry. We need him to come over, washer 36 and 37. There's something wrong with the valve and the water. They don't just ignore it. And I feel like that, just all of us working together, it motivates. There's a motivation there for sure.
Excellent. Yeah. Valid points I think are helpful to anybody out there, whether you can be in the business yourself, or if you've got that manager like your mom did, who was, the eyes and ears on the floor. Mm-hmm. We actually have a question that kind of came in the chat that's specifically for you, Natalie. Kind of goes back to when we were talking about your corporate clients and the commercial accounts. They would like to know how do you get that initial face-to-face with the clients that you have no warm referral to make the introduction? I think you had mentioned when you and I talked
It's a good
about,
question. In the
community
beginning,
connections.
sure. Google's like the web. Your website is out there in webland, whatever. But like your website's out there. So when people are looking for laundry service, and you come up, you know, it's not that it's not a warm referral that you're getting that, but they're seeing what you do. They see what your service is. And once they see your service, they call and we have a conversation. But there's I don't want to say there's no warm referral, because people are always online looking. But at the same time, I when you first start talking to them about what you do, your presence online is huge. So I don't have people who just call me out of the blue. They've looked at my website, they've gone on my Facebook page or Instagram or whatever. They see what we do. But they're looking for it. They're looking for it. And if you start talking to everybody around you about what you do every day, I talk to the waiters and like bartenders, and you know, I was talking to somebody at a restaurant in like waiting in line. There's so many things that you can do in order to not have warm leads, but if someone knows what you do, and I think you and I don't know if we talked about that. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. And for me, I think that for me is like the biggest piece of advice I can give is like, you tell everybody what you do. You tell everyone I mean, I do it all the time because I think it's very important to just get it out there. Once you get it out there, people remember in the back of their head, oh, Natalie does that. Natalie does laundry. So, I got a call from this woman who has a med spa, and she's like, oh, I was at dinner the other night, and Jules told me that you do laundry. I have a med spa. I need twice a week. I'm like, great, let's do it. So we started.
Yeah.
But it's like, there's so much more to it than just going out and looking for it. It's when people know what you do and they refer you. Facebook is a huge thing. I post stuff all the time about my business. And it doesn't mean that they're going to use it right away, but it's not a cold call. Someone heard about what I do. So it's easy to just keep talking about it and talking about it. But again, it's not who you know. It's somebody who's going to talk about you or give you that, hey, call Natalie, she can help you. That's how I've really worked a lot of it. And then there's people on Google who find you and they call you, and then they tell another person about you. I mean, I had that with a soccer team. She found me on Google, and then now she's told a bunch of other teams about us. And we did the World Cup. We did laundry for England and Portugal. It was amazing. I mean, it's all by word of mouth, really.
Yeah, I think that's great. I want to say welcome to our Women in Laundry, because that's where I find that this group is so fantastic, because as much as we're all obsessed about laundry, this is a group where we can all, share our obsession with the laundry world. So
I'm like a nerd.
kind of,
I call myself a laundry nerd. I really do, because
yeah.
it's like I love talking about it.
I know, yeah. There's a manufacturer's term that phrase, so I feel hesitant to use it sometimes, but I totally agree. So if we want to keep moving along here, just kind of almost summarize in a way, or kind of, I want to say wrap things up, because we really want to open things up to even more questions. So if everyone out there wants to start, thinking about things that they have specifically for Kelly and Natalie, or even if you've got some of your own points. I saw, and I didn't get to read the whole thing, Aubrey put a big long paragraph in there that I didn't get to read the whole thing of. If you wanted to chime in, Aubrey, and kind of give us, a bit of what you were writing in there, I think that would be great too. But
yeah, I was just saying, for anyone who's financing, I strongly recommend two things. One, lenders will not finance longer than your lease. So right, if you're financing up front and you have a 10-year lease, you're great. But if you're 5 years into your lease and you're retooling and you only have 5 years left, that's the longest term a lender will do. The other thing is all of the lenders within the industry, they have some type of a landlord document, and that document depends on the dollar amount, but it's the same across each lender. I strongly recommend, especially if you're building a new store, get that document and put it in front of the landlord as you're negotiating. Submit it with your LOI. Because once you sign your lease, it's a lot harder to get the landlord to sign that document. And depending which state you're in, particularly if you're in one of the landlord-friendly states, the lenders often cannot finance if you don't get that document signed. So I would say very early in the process, if you think you're financing, get a copy of that document and submit it to your landlord.
Definitely.
Yeah. Great points. I felt like it could be said out loud so that everybody was making sure to get that out there. So if we want to go back to Kelly, if you had one kind of thing that you wanted to get out there that everyone should know, one kind of summary point, one hot topic that you felt like in negotiation or dealing with any of your vendors or staff or anything, what would that be?
Yes, I think when you're starting the process and negotiating a lease, you're in control. Like, they're coming to you, they want you. So you have a lot of control when you're starting to negotiate a lease, in that you can say what you want and don't want. Like Natalie's saying, if I'm not here, then how am I responsible for the HVAC units? I'm not taking them off the building with me. So knowing, I think that's a very valid point that she said, like knowing, well, I can't physically take this out of the building with me. I'm not going to take it if I leave. So knowing, really negotiating what's important, knowing who's going to pay property taxes, if you have CAN fees, what you're going to look at for that, and knowing it's not personal. And I am the worst at saying this, like I am contradicting myself so badly, but keep the emotions out of it. If it's not the right time, it's not the right time. There will be a right time. We bought land 2 years ago, and when we started looking at it, we couldn't fit parking on it. So that's why and that was a buy situation, but we had a 60-day term to figure things out and figure out if it was going to work for us, and it didn't. And now there's an auto place there, and we're happy for them. It just wasn't the right time, but now it is. And also speaking back on like labor and employees, knowing your structure of what you want that to look like. I have in my 8 stores, 4 are not fully staffed, 4 are only staffed at night. Then my larger stores are fully staffed. So we have a management kind of team in place. We have a manager on duty number. However, you get me or my husband who own it. But sometimes if they don't like his answer, I can be like, oh, well, I'm sorry, the manager didn't. You didn't like what he said. Maybe I can say something different. I can act like he's a manager, not an owner. But we also have maintenance men in place. For my 4 unattended stores, I have something called a floating attendant, and we provide a car to him, and he goes through our stores and cleans them and makes sure that they're operational. So the way that his employee handbook and things look is very different from the way my attendant looks. So like if you're going to have levels of how you go to, there's people who have, I feel like I'm a little man with 9 stores in the industry, but there's people who have 20, 30 stores. You can't possibly do it all on your own. Right now, I can possibly do it all on my own. Like I laugh at Natalie saying Facebook, Instagram. I'm going to put a little plug out there on my Instagram. I just put like a girl boss video of me physically installing a machine. Women, you can do this job. Like I can physically install a washer. I can put in a dryer. We do our HVAC, we do our plumbing. We do a lot of that on our own. I tell people, if you can fix your own stuff, you can succeed. If you can be your contractor, it's going to make it a little bit easier for you. We all can't do that and have the expertise, but there's so many videos out there and resources now. The CLA is a phenomenal resource. There was something that was just posted like how to start your first laundromat. So I think that the CLA and the Women's Laundry Network is obviously a great place to start, but try to keep emotions out of it. but you also have to jump in. If you're ready, you're ready. Jump in and do it.
Thank you, Kelly. Those are some great points. I would like to extend the same kind of question out to Natalie about, what's general information or things you've thought of since we started this discussion that you would like to give as advice to those other women, a few of the guys that are joining us today, that could really change your negotiating.
I just think that what Kelly was talking about in terms of like jumping in and doing things. I mean, as an owner operator, always in it, you always have to do stuff. Like she's the manager on duty for her staff and for her customers when they really need something. So you just have to be able to jump in and like solve problems. And your day to day is always going to look so differently. And I think that everything that you do to prepare yourself to do all the stuff that you're going to do, like things are going to happen. Things are, each day you don't know what. I mean, we had water all over the floor yesterday, and we needed to have a plumber come in because we just had a pipe that like burst. But you have to be able to be versatile. Like you have to be versatile in a lot of things, but you also have 15 different hats, and you have to be that kind of person who can wear the different hats and be very like you don't have to be there every single day, but you have to know what to do when all these different things happen. But then you're wearing another hat to develop business, and you're wearing another hat to, go and chat with all kinds of people in the community that, you want to tell about what you do. So it's like, there's so many things that you have to do, but if you're that kind of person, you're going to succeed in this industry. I think it's a great, that I don't know. I think it's just you're like a magician. You're like a magician, but it's also really, it's really gratifying though. I will tell you, I love making people happy, and laundry is happiness because people, when they have clean clothes, they're in a good mood. When they can, if it's a wash, dry, fold person who it's, we have a single dad who has like 3 kids, and his love language is laundry. He just loves laundry. But like you're doing it for such a good purpose, doing it for a lot of reasons, for different business solutions. Like we're solving like something that they need. And I love that. I love that every day. Who comes in, who comes and gets their laundry, who we go delivered laundry to, because I have one woman who lives in a trailer park, and she is like wheelchair, bound, and we help her every other week, and she's happy. And it's the little things in a day that you're always going to encounter are crazy, and you can get annoyed. But at the end of the day, what are you doing? You're helping, you're helping people. So that's what I've always gone at the end of the day. I'm like, put my head down, and I'm like, whew, but the next day is another challenge, but and at the end of the day, you're happy, you're happy with what you've done. So if you can get through all of that and then see the light, it's good. Because when I leave here, I'm going to go deliver, and people are going to be very happy.
That's great. Well, I think a lot of great points between both Kelly and Natalie. I hope that people have kind of gotten a lot out of them. I'd like to see more questions. If somebody's feeling adventurous and they want to turn their camera and their mic on and they want to verbally give us a question, I think we're certainly open to that. With our 30 some odd people here together, we can handle that. But I don't have any specific ones in the chat right now. So we're just kind of, I guess we can wrap things up a little bit. Unless I've missed anything that anyone can see, that any questions that came through that I didn't cover.
I was going to say to somebody, the question was directed at Natalie about wash, dry, fold and getting customers. It's a little bit different in self-service. Something we implemented last year is all of my employees and maintenance team wear shirts that say Wells Laundry on them. So like it's a walking free, I mean, I paid for the shirts, but it's kind of walking free advertisement out in public. Like someone sees my shirt on, they're like, oh, you work there. Then you start a conversation about laundry and, oh, we hope you come in. Or my mother-in-law called me and was like, I can't fit my king size comforter in my washer. Where do I go? And I was like, to the laundromat. But you are like, that's a really easy way to put your name and face out there. Facebook and Instagram are great. TikTok's great, but sometimes you do have to spend money on marketing.
Agreed. And kind of along that same, we do actually have a question. Do any of you or either of you use an external company for your marketing?
Yes.
And can you elaborate a little bit on that, Natalie?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the marketing piece, not for the self-service so much, but for the commercial business, I use a team who helps us find businesses that are interested in, like looking for a laundry service. So like they send like warm emails, I guess. It's like, it's like soft email marketing. Sorry, I had a brain thing for a second. Soft email marketing, and they've helped us with lots of different kinds of businesses that I wouldn't even have thought of, which is great because we don't have like I said in the beginning, we don't have like a niche where we're just one, we'll do, gyms or like nail salons. We take everything under the sun. I mean, we don't take every piece of business because you can't take every piece of business. But at the same time, when you have those warm emails, it's not as like intrusive. People don't like phone calls, like cold calls. I have one dog groomer, a piece of business that I have, and she hates when, she's got like a standalone building, and she hates when people either come in or call. But when she saw my email in the email box, she was sitting down to do invoicing, and she said, "Oh, I saw your email," and that's how the conversation got going. And she's been with us for a year now. So yes, we do have somebody help us with marketing.
And is that are they industry related, or is it an outside of the industry company that you use?
I mean, it's an outside company, but they specialize in this kind of stuff. So I'm
right,
not,
yeah,
we're
like
not supposed to talk brands, which is fine.
No, like
okay.
what I mean is,
they're connected, I guess, but at the same time, they're very like hyper focused on the industry, so they know.
Yeah. How to
I've
focus the
gotten
marketing.
so much business. Yeah, definitely.
That's great.
Those emails have definitely gotten great.
So I thought the next question that I've seen in the chat here, if I go over to Kelly, I think maybe you could answer this part. How do you find your employees, and what is your vetting process?
Yeah. So typically what we had done originally when we first took over was word of mouth. Your employees will say, "Hey, someone quit. I'm having to pick up the extra work." They will say it for you. So it was just kind of word of mouth, people calling saying, "Do you have any openings? XYZ." My best piece of advice for hiring: be slow to hire, sometimes quick to fire. But making sure you have that in place. We do verbal, written termination. But we are now putting signs on the door when we have a job opening, and it will tell the specific hours, the specific shift, and then there's a QR code, and it goes to our job application, and it asks, "Do you have reliable transportation?" That's important. Can they get to and from work? We are now asking, can they speak Spanish? Are they bilingual? Because we live in an area that has a very diverse population, and we're actually paying more for bilingual speakers. So I put out a lot of my questions first in my application. If I'm hiring for a bilingual position and they write, "I can't speak Spanish," you're out. Sorry, that was in the question. But putting out, like, you're going to have to be able to lift mop water. Mop water's heavy. Giving very detailed we post our job description as well with that so that they know what it looks like. Our morning shift is very different from our night shift. I have used Indeed it is expensive, but I have found that I have found better employees that have stayed with me longer. Like I have found a higher quality applicant that way. I also, when people call that manager on duty number and say, hey, do you have a job application? Or do you have any job openings right now available? I may say at the time no, but I will save their phone number and then call them when I do. So keeping just open on that. I was going to kind of answer the marketing a little bit too. We just started using someone local to help with social media to kind of help more with that. I feel like I'm old. I was on Facebook when Facebook started. Feeling like there's so much more out there now with social media and pushing things that we have. But we have also talked to people in the industry throughout, just at different conferences about marketing. There's a lot of different vendors now doing that.
Yeah, agreed. And when you go to Wash, Dry, Fold, you'll be able to visit with several of them. Just a little plug for the CLA there. I'm just going to mention a couple other things here. We are kind of getting towards the end. Someone asked about, finding people who can help you purchase a laundromat if you're new to the business. I think that's more of a question for maybe your local distributor, or if you find a broker in the area. I'm not specifically sure if Kelly or Natalie would have input on that, but they're both kind of long-term with the locations they have. And then Aubrey made a good point too. And I know my boss talks a lot about your attendees being your ambassadors, and the attendees of your store really being able to market for you and give the point across that you are doing these things. You do have Wash, Dry, Fold. You do have commercial accounts. And it goes back to like what Natalie's saying, talk it up, because if you keep talking about what you do and then somebody else talks to somebody else, before you know it, you're full of people who are coming in and doing business with you. Inundated, yes, as Natalie is. And one question I was thinking, to go back to Natalie a little bit, because I think people are interested with one store and the volume that you've talked about doing. Can you tell us how many washers and how many dryers are in your laundromat?
We have 39 washers. We have about 33 dryers. 33 dryers. So we're fighting with the customers to do the commercial business, but we found the sweet spot of like when people are here, when they're not, so we know what we can work,
Yeah. I think the amount of volume that you're doing is impressive. So kind of getting an idea of what you're doing, that with what kind of washers and dryers you have, gives people a perspective. So Aubrey, she loves to have her points, and she has some really good ones. So I wanted to also just kind of put out here before I turn things back to Suzanne, any of the local colleges, I think it's a win-win, as she says, because you can find somebody who wants to do some free marketing for you. Plus, you start talking to people there at it about doing the free marketing, and then they learn that your laundromat is down the street, and they're likely to bring their laundry to you, even if one kid there is helping you with your marketing. So just my own little tidbit. I think Kelly's volume's up again, because I'm getting a lot of feedback, if you don't mind, Kelly. Thank you. So I think to kind of wrap things up, I think we got a lot of great points. I think it was great having both Kelly and Natalie, very different kind of sides of the industry. You've got Kelly, who's got multiple stores, and I think it makes a lot of sense with a lot of the paperwork she's doing to keep everybody on track and everybody, on the same page. And I think that makes a lot of sense in that kind of scale and even going bigger. And a lot of great points there from her, and succeeding, from her family and her grandfather to her dad and so on and so forth. And then from Natalie's perspective on the Wash, Dry, Fold and commercial accounts, and just being one with the community. I think that's a really good point to take from what Natalie was talking about, as much as, she does pay somebody to help her with the marketing, but as soon as they mention it to somebody else, they've already heard of her, even though she's just got the one store with the 30 some odd washers and the 30 some odd dryers. It's, I think, very impressive from both sides of things. So hopefully everyone took their own little tidbits out of each of their stories, and we sure appreciate you all joining us. I'm going to turn things over to Suzanne so that she can wrap things up, and I hope to see you all at Wash, Dry, Fold.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Can everyone see the screen? Just wanted to give a couple call outs to some upcoming CLA events. And Kelly and Natalie, thank you again for joining us today. We appreciate it. We do have a how to start a laundromat that I believe Lisa mentioned earlier, or someone on the call mentioned earlier. We do a monthly webinar. Brian Wallace, our president, hosts this along with a guest. We do it monthly, so our next one will be coming up September 15th. It's 90 minutes long. There's usually a guest on with him. So it's a really nice high-level overview on all the areas of how to, open, start a laundromat that you need to be cognizant of to be successful. And then at the end, it's an open Q&A with two experts, again, on the line that you can shoot any questions to. So keep that in mind. You do not need to be a CLA member to attend this. Everything's on our events tab on the CLA website. And we have a pretty simple website, but we got a lot of information on there. So you should easily find that. And then again, we have one coming up in October, so it's monthly. Also, we have Connect Live events coming up, so you can find a location near you. These are evening dinners. They run 5 to 7 in the various cities across the U.S. There is usually a CLA staff member there as well to answer any questions, but they're really nice local meetups where you can meet other store owners, prospective investors, any industry folks from the area to kind of talk shop and build your social network if you're getting into the business or if you're established, just to meet others around you. Generally, no one's really in competition per se, and everybody likes to talk about their business with someone else who can identify with them. So keep an eye on that. Those are also on our events tab. And what is last here? Oh, and yes, as mentioned earlier, we have our annual Wash, Dry, Fold workshop coming up in lovely Austin, Texas. That's in September. So if you want to get into the business of Wash, Dry, Fold, or you're already in the business and want to up your game, there will be seasoned, panelist experts, education sessions going on, as well as we will have a Women's Laundry Network meetup before the reception for the conference. So again, thank you all for being here today. I know we're right on the mark here at 2:00 Central Time. So again, thank you. Thank you to our hosts, our women's task force members who are on the line today, and I hope everyone has a good week. If you have any questions about CLA membership, please feel free to reach out to me, and I will be sending a follow-up email with this link on it tomorrow. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Have a good. Bye-bye.